Hey, fourth graders. So it is time for us to review everything that we have been covering in our unit on data analysis. So today we're going to be looking at stem and leaf plots, tables, line plots, answering questions about those things, interpreting what they mean, and finding the median, mode, and range of all three of those types of data representations. So it's really important that you remember all of these skills that we've been learning in data analysis are skills that you are definitely going to use later on in life, even if you don't necessarily realize that you're using it. You could use it to see, for example, this one right here, to figure out like what's the average amount of time that you're running, what's the most common amount of time that you go running, what's the most common distance that you're able to run. You can use this as your goal setting. Maybe you can look over your grades and you can see, well, what grade do I get the most often and how can I improve that grade? Or like I said, doing science experiments, all kinds of times that we would use data analysis. So let's look over some examples. And we're going to go over this. This is something that you should have already completed. If you have not already completed this assignment, this was up higher in the intro pages. If you've not already completed this assignment, I want you to pause the video, go back and complete the assignment, and then come back and watch the video to check your answers. As you're checking your answers, I want to explain kind of what I'm looking for with that. Checking your answers doesn't mean just, yep, I got that right, or nope, I got that wrong. Okay, if you got it right, it kind of does just mean, yep, I got that right. So pat on the back. But if you got something wrong, I want you to pause and look at your work and see what mistake did you make? Why did you get it wrong? Because that's how we learn. It's okay to make mistakes. Making mistakes is a really, actually very important part of learning. But if we just make the mistake and move on without looking back over the mistake and figuring out what we did wrong, so that we don't do the same thing wrong next time, we actually don't learn and we don't make progress. Okay, so that's going to be a really, really important part of what you're doing in your video today. I want you to understand how to do all of these types of problems, because this is, first of all, what you're going to see on your test in the next lesson. So obviously we want to get a good grade. But beyond that, like I said, this is something that you actually use quite a bit moving forward. You're going to be using it in your science classes. You're going to be using it in math classes. You're going to be using it in real life. So you do want to know how to do these things. All right. So all that being said, let's check our work. The first problem says, Samantha goes running each day. The amount of time in minutes she runs each day is shown below. So this is her time. Make a stem and leaf plot to represent the data. So I know a stem and leaf plot has this line going up and down, and we have our stem, and then we have our leaves. Okay, and I know that the stem generally is going to represent the tens place, and the leaves are generally going to represent the ones place. If we have a stem and leaf plot where it's whole numbers and fractions, the stem is going to be the whole numbers, the leaves are going to be the fractions. So it kind of just depends on what type of data. In this case, it's all whole numbers. Remember, the stems are just going to represent the tens places, and we have to go in numerical order. So I have to look, what's the smallest tens place I have? I have all 2-digit numbers, and the smallest tens place I have is a 1. All right, do I have any 2s in the tens? Yes, I do. Do I have any 3s? Yes, I do. And I have 4s. Okay, so I just looked at my tens places. Now I'm going to list my ones places, but remember, again, I have to go in numerical order. So I'm going to look for the smallest 1 with a 10 and with a 1 in the tens place. All right. So I look here, and I'm just going to go right across so I don't miss anything. I have 15, and I have another 15. So I can cross off my two 15s. And remember, I have to write a 5 for each 15. I have to have the same amount of leaves as I do data points. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my 2s. Okay, I have 25, 20, 25. So remember, 20 is the smallest, so I'm going to write the 0. And then I had two 25s. There's my other one. So I write 2 5s. All right. Same thing with the 3s. All right. I have 30, 30, 30. I have 3 30s. So I'm going to cross those off. And then, oh, you see I made a mistake. I missed a 25. Luckily it's a 25, so I just put the comma with the 5 there. I have to add it on. That's why I cross them off, because then I know that if I've missed it or not. Okay. And I don't have any other numbers in the 30s. For the 40s, I have a 40, and then I have two 45s. Okay, and I've crossed off everything, which means I've used all of my data. For question number 1, all you had to do is make the stem and leaf plot. So this is what you should have. If you missed something, why did you miss it? Did you forget to cross it off at the top? Is everything in numerical order? So you should have everything like this is 15, 15, 20, 25, 25, 25. Everything would be in numerical order. Okay, double check all of those things. Number 2, excuse me, sorry. Number 2 says to use this stem and leaf plot to determine how many days Samantha runs 20 minutes or more. So at least 20 minutes. Basically, on our stem and leaf plot, that's everything below here. And remember, each of these leaves counts for a day. So how many days do we have below that's 20 minutes or more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I'm filling it in this chart, I would fill in that. Or you could have just written 10 days over to the side. Okay? So that's page number 1 with a stem and leaf plot. And the stem and leaf plot made this question very simple because everything was written in number order. All right, let's look at the next page. Excuse me. All right, a worker in the garden is measuring leaves on the plant. Again, something really realistic that somebody would do. Maybe they're trying to make sure that the leaves are healthy. The bigger the leaf, the healthier the plant, or something like that. Does it need more fertilizer? Does it need more water? Is it getting enough sunlight? Are there any pests that are getting onto the plant? All of these things can help the gardener make the garden healthier. And by doing this, they're able to answer those questions. All right, so he has one more leaf to measure. What is the length of this leaf to the nearest eighth of an inch? So right here, they even give us the ruler, and we're just measuring. All right, so it's past the 1, and this would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. So it's 1 and 3/8. 1 and 3/8. Remember, each of the little ticks stands for an eighth. Part B says he made a line plot, add the last measurement. So we have to add 1 and 3/8. And remember, it's right here. It already has X's on top of it, so I have to put it on top. Okay? Part C, we're going to be using the line plot to answer some questions and see if they're true or false. So let's take a look at it. 3/10 of the leaves are longer than 1 and 4/8 inches. Now you might be thinking 3/10 of the leaves, what on earth does that mean? Remember, the whole data set, every little X would be like the whole, right? There's 10 X's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that would represent 10 tenths. So I want to know if there are 3, this 3 is telling me how many X's are longer, that means bigger, than 1 and 4/8. So I'm going to just grab a different color just to make it a little bit easier because I'm going to write on my line plot. Here is 1 and 4/8. So this one is saying, do I have 3 X's on that side of 1 and 4/8, on the longer side? I do, 1, 2, 3. So that makes this question true. All right, the next question is asking, it says the total length of all the leaves is 13 inches. Okay, this one is a hard question. This one right here. I'm going to actually come back to that here in just a minute. Let's look at the last one. The difference, remember, what does difference mean? The answer when we subtract between the two longest leaves is 5/8 of an inch. So if I subtract 2 and 2/8 minus 1 and 7/8, do I get 5/8? Well, let's remember what we learned when we were learning how to subtract mixed numbers. 2/8 minus 7/8. I can't do 2 minus 7. I have to regroup. So I'm going to go next door and I'm going to borrow 1 more. That 2 is going to turn into a 1. I have to add a whole to my fractions. So now I have 10/8. All right. 10 minus 7 is 3, and then the denominator stays the same. 1 minus 1 is 0. So is the difference 5/8? It's not. It's only 3/8. The other thing that you could have done is actually used the number line to help you. All right, just count back. Remember, these are all eighths. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. If the answer was 5/8, you would have been moving over 5. So that one is definitely false. Now let's go back to this. The total length of all the leaves is 13 inches. What does that mean? Essentially, it means that we're adding all of these numbers together, okay? I think there's 10 numbers. That's going to be a lot to like line them all up and add them all together. I'm going to do it 2 numbers at a time, and I'm just going to go right down the list, and I'm going to put a little check mark next to each X after I use it, okay? So we're going to start out with 5/8 plus 5/8, all right? And you can kind of ignore the eighths for the right now and put eighth back at the end, but I'm just going to leave it like this, okay? So that's those two. That equals 10/8. I'm not going to do any regrouping until the very end, just because it will make it a lot faster if I don't regroup after every single one. Okay? So now I'm going to do 10/8 plus 7/8. Okay? That equals 17/8. Okay? Plus 1 whole equals 1 and 17/8, right? So far, following along with me here? All right, now we're going to add 1 and 3/8, 3 different times. So we're going to add 1 whole plus 1 and 3/8. Okay, now again, I know 1 and 17/8 is not correct, but we'll regroup at the end. So I'm not worried about it right now. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 17 plus 3 is 20. And then, of course, it has eighth at the end. Okay, so that's one of them. Okay, plus 1 and 3/8 again. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 20 plus 3 is 23. Okay. Sorry, my nose is itchy today. All right, plus 1 and 3/8 again. And I'll be honest, this is the second time I made this video because I made a major mistake the first time I was doing this. You want to work really slowly and carefully and double check everything that you're doing because I was trying to go too fast, and even I, as your math teacher, made a mistake. It's adding a lot of numbers together. Okay, so 3 plus 1 is 4. 23 plus 3 is 26. Okay, so that's all of those. I have 3 more to add in. All right, we're going to add in 1 and 5/8. All right, so 4 plus 1 is 5. And then 26 plus 5 is 31/8. Okay, now we're going to add in 1 and 7/8. 5 plus 1 is 6. 31 plus 7 is 38. All right, 1 more to add, and then we're going to do our regrouping. Plus, this last one is 2 and 2/8. Okay, so 6 plus 2 is 8. 38 plus 2 is 40. Okay? All right, so we have 8 wholes and 48. Well, we know we can't have this because you can see that this is a fraction greater than 1. How do I regroup this to figure out what the actual number is? I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do 40 divided by 8. And whatever I get, whether it's a whole number or whether it's a mixed number, I'm going to add that to my 8 wholes. Okay? 8 goes into 40 5 times, right? 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. It goes in 5 times exactly. 5 times 8 is 40. I subtract, I get 0. So what does 8 plus 5 equal? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It equals 13, which means the total length of all the leaves together is 13 inches. So that one is true. Okay? Again, this is a lot of adding, but you just do it one step at a time, and that makes it a lot easier. And you notice, again, not regrouping until the end, made it go a lot faster. If I had to regroup every single time, that would have taken a lot longer. Okay? Excuse me. Oh my goodness. All right, let's look at our last page. Our last page was all about reviewing median, mode, and range in different forms. Okay, mode is the most, M-O mode, M-O most. Median is the middle, and the range is the difference between the high and the low. Okay, these are not in numerical order. So this is actually, even though it's just a chart, it might be the easiest way to read the data. We have to put it in order first. So my smallest number is 8, and then we have 9, and then there's a 10, 11, 11, 11, and 12. All right, the number that appears the most is 11. To find my median, I go big, small, big, small, big, small. There's the number in the middle. It's 11. My range is 12 minus 8, which equals 4. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing with this next data set. I'm going to put it in order first because it's not in order. So 12 is the smallest number. And then I have 13. Let's see here, no more 13s. I have 14. I have 14. And then I have 15, 15, 15. Which number appears the most? Well, I have 3 of the 15s, so the 15 appears the most. Median, I cross off big, small, big, small, big, small. There's my number in the middle, it's 14. And to find my range, I do 15 minus 12, which equals 3. Okay, so those are all just charts of data. Now we have our stem and leaf plots. Remember, the mode is the number that appears the most. So I'm looking for repeating leaves in this case with a stem and leaf plot. Okay, 2, 4, 5, 7, and repeating leaves in the same line, right? Because that means that they're tied to the beginning number. I see repeating leaves here, and I also see repeating leaves here. It's the same number of repeating leaves, so this one has 2 modes. It's, remember that 8's tied to the 4, it's 48 and 51. Those are both the mode. The median is the number that's right in the middle, so remember we cross off big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small. Oops. Let me do that again. Mrs. Long made a mistake again. All right, I'm going to do it with a different color. Big, small, big, small. Why am I doing this wrong? Every time. Ay, 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 Mrs. Long, get it together. Okay. Don't worry, guys. I've got a lot of colors of pen. So here we go. Big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small. There we go. Phew, I got it. You might have to do that. If you make a mistake, you should be working in pencil. Erase, erase, erase. Start it again. It's not a big deal, okay? What's in the middle? It's not 3, it's 43. In the range is the difference between the biggest number, which is 54, thankfully I can still read it, and 32, which would be 22 is the range. Okay, let's look at the next one. Hopefully Mrs. Long won't make quite so many mistakes on this one. Again, I'm looking for repeating numbers in a line. 2, 3, 6, 7, 1, 5, 5, 7, 9, 3, 5, 6, 7. I don't have any repeating numbers. Each data point only shows up one time. So there is no range or no mode. If there's no repeating numbers, if every data point only shows up one time, there is no mode. Okay, so again, it's possible to have more than one mode. It's possible to have no mode. Usually there's one mode when you're looking at it, but that's not always how data works. Okay, median. Cross off big and small. I'm going to do it the right way this time. Let's try it. Big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small. There is my median, 75. That 5's linked to the 7. I do want you to notice when I'm doing big, I go all the way over to the right from the bottom number and work backwards. And when I do small, I go, remember my smallest number is 52, and I go up. It's really important that you remember that. If you have a hard time, you can always list the numbers out to the side so that you're doing it more like this, okay? All right, my range is the difference between the high and low. 87 is my biggest number. 52 is my smallest number. So 7 minus 2 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. Range is 35. All right. The mode is super easy to find on line plots, right? Which one has the most x's? In this case, I have 2 again, right? This one has 3 x's and this one has 3 x's. So I have 2 modes. I have to list them both. The median is the number that's right in the middle. I still go big, small, all right? Big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, middle. All right, that's right above the 6. And the range is the difference between the high and the low. So 6 and 2/4 is the biggest number that has an x on it, minus 5. If I'm subtracting, I don't have anything to subtract my fraction, so it's 2/4. 6 minus 5 is 1. 1 and 2/4 is the answer. All right, last one. We have, looking at them, we have 4 x's over 55. The rest have 3 or 2. So 55 is the mode. The median, we do our same thing. Big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small. It's over the 60. And then the range is the difference between the high and the low. 85 minus 50 equals 35. The last question, very last one, the range of the data set is 8. What does that tell you about the data? Well, it means that there's a difference of 8 between the biggest number in the data and the smallest number in the data, because remember the range is the difference between the high and low. So there is a difference of 8 between the biggest and smallest numbers. All right. There we go, guys. We went over all of this packet that you guys had for your review. I hope that that was helpful. If you need to rewatch part of it, go back and rewatch part of it. Again, if you made any mistakes, make sure you understand why you made the mistake so that when you do your test tomorrow, you are able to do a really amazing job. I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. And in our next unit, we're going to be talking about geometry and angles, which is so much fun. I hope you guys will join me for that. All right. Bye, guys.